Lands and Natural Minister Abu Jinapor has denied allegations of state capture by the NPP government at a press conference in Accra today. The minister said the allegations that the government has either sold or allocated public lands to individuals were fueled by political considerations, describing them as false and baseless.
Granted some of these public lands to private entities for various developmental purposes. Unfortunately, some people have packaged some of these lands, which were granted to private developers decades ago, and presented them as evidence of what they have termed, quote, state capture, end quote. The ministry has had to issue press statements to correct some of these misinformations. However, given that this platform has a wider reach and audience, it is important to reiterate some of these issues, which we have already issued statements on, amongst others. One of such lands is the land which hosted the Bulgarian embassy. This land forms part of a larger parcel of land acquired by the state in 1920 by a certificate of title dated 6 July 1920. The land was, however, granted to one Theophilus Kofi Leighton as far back as 1977 for a term of 99 years, commencing from 1st April 1974. This lease will expire in the year 2073. Until then, government has no direct control whatsoever over the use of this land. After building on the land, the said Mr. Leighton entered into a private contract with the Bulgarian embassy and rented a house to the embassy for a short-term period before granting them a 50-year sublease. However, by a letter dated 5th November 1990, the then Ministry of Foreign Affairs declared the sublease to the Bulgarian embassy as void. Events following this declaration resulted in a series of litigations, some of which are still pending in our law courts. According to the sole inquirer appointed to investigate the demolition of the building, it was demolished by one Jojo Hagan, said to be the executor of the will of Mr. Leighton, pursuant to a court order. As previously stated, the government of Ghana played no role in the transaction whatsoever between Mr. Leighton and the Bulgarian embassy, nor was it a party to the contract or the demolition exercise. Government, however, decided to intervene in the matter due to the involvement of the Bulgarian embassy, which is an accredited diplomatic mission in the country. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration have engaged the parties involved extensively and have agreed on some compensation for the Bulgarian embassy, which will be paid by those who undertook the demolition exercise. For the avoidance of doubt, ladies and gentlemen, this compensation will not be paid by the Akufo-Addo government. Government will, however, continue to engage the parties until the matter is fully resolved. How is this evidence of state capture? Then there's the issue of land belonging to the prison service at Roman Ridge, which was leased as far back as 2005, and which matter has gone to court, and the court has delivered judgment on the matter. What is the role of the Akufo-Addo government in a land granted to a private developer as far back as 2005? Ladies and gentlemen, how is this evidence of state capture? Another allegation that has been made as evidence of state capture by the Akufo-Addo government is the Parks and Gardens land at Cantonment. This land was acquired in 1894 and granted to the predecessor of the Department of Parks and Gardens in 1952. The land was, however, leased to a company named Wuntirim Company Limited on 29 November 2016, long before the current government came to power. And those who were in power when the land was sold in 2016 have turned around to falsely accuse the Akufo-Addo government of selling this parcel of land. Indeed, the lease was made pursuant to a request from the then Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, dated 16 August 2012, under the hand of its then Deputy Minister, Honorable Elvis Afriye Ankara, to sell 2 acres of the land, quote, to enable the Parks and Gardens raise the needed funding to resource itself, end quote. According to the then Deputy Minister, he stated further, and I quote, proceeds from the sale shall be used to provide Parks and Gardens with a new office, staff bars, some tractors, water tankers, and the needed hand tools it is currently in dire need of to restructure and reposition itself as a viable government agency.